everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on Superman, issue 363. Now, as you know, this is meant to be the first volume of Superman, where the issues are meant to follow the pre-crisis continuity, as well as the early issues cover the Earth 2 version of Superman, while the remaining issues are meant to cover the Earth 1 version of Superman. And the cover has pretty much Superman crawling to Lex Luthor asking for a cure, which he says, "Ha ha, Superman, that's the biggest joke I ever heard." Which sort of happens, but kind of. So it introduces how Superman is being overwhelmed with the guilt of the plague and that, as well as Lana Lang doing an interview with her father, and Superman remembering how back at the last issue, Lana accidentally dropped a vial which ended up containing a dangerous fever plague, which didn't affect Clark because of his Kryptonian powers, but remembers how, as Superboy, it started off how Clark arranged a Caribbean cruise for them, and ended up going back in time, which ended up the fever plague, which of course Clark was meant to feel responsible, even though he didn't really realise the potential consequences. So after doing the filming, Lana's father says, "That's what a TV taping is like. I must comment you, honey. Once that's on air, lights flashing, you'll turn into a true professional." So after this, Lana and her father go out for a meal, while Clark goes out as Superman, thinking about using the Phantom Zone projector to help, which of course backfires, because keep in mind the Earth 1 version of General Zod and his henchmen are gonna get satisfaction in seeing Clark suffer. So of course Clark wants to spend the last few moments with Lana, having a meal, taking her to her apartment, until the owner of the place asks Lana to help her with her cat, which Clark goes into his apartment, and flies off as Superman to think Lex Luthor will help, which two criminals try to escape, and they're like, "You bet ya, ain't nothing surpriser than trying to double-cross Luthor." And so Superman manages to kind of drop off the criminals and gets Lex Luthor to help him, which he's not going to, as he wants to see Clark suffer. And of course Superman says, "The Fiend, gods!" And after that, Lois Lane is watching an old sort of romance film, and Clark uses his powers to take her back in time, back to the early days of Paris, and one of the team known as Josh is trying to wonder where Clark, Lana, and Lois are while taking medicines for his ulcer, and of course Superman takes them to the Fortress of Solitude as he sees the fever plague finally kicking in. Decides to go straight to the 88th century and takes down a meteor before it hits a kind of floating city in space, and pretty much turns out these guys are mining meteors as Earth's resources had been depleted, and point out they can't really give Clark basically the cure in that because it would cause a time paradox and the person who invented it hasn't done it yet. And of course Superman flies off back in time, but realizes because he was a kid, it didn't work on his parents, so as an adult, it works now because it never affected kids, but now he can do it, which he saves them. Even the science team see this and say, to quote a famous saying, "Another time era, all well that ends well." And yeah, this is the story. So I think the issue is sort of okay. I think, yeah, keep in mind that Clark can't really do science, and of course has to rely on others to kind of help him, which is kind of like what Clark does, as he always had Hamilton to help him combat foes in Superman the Animated Series. And keep in mind, I do feel the issue missed a great moment to have had Clark go back in time, wait till his younger self was out, and give the cure to his parents. It could have given Clark the chance to have his parents back, and sort of have the Kents play a crucial part back in his life. But, of course, it's Superman, so I really have to understand that the writers do what they decide. So I think the issue still deserves a thumbs up. Sort of okay, but still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.